Hello, my name is Amber Rogers, and today we will discuss the importance of voting. Have you ever watched the news and heard about some big plan your senators have come up with and wondered, who the hell put these guys in charge? Voting is the most important way that you, as a citizen of the United States, can influence the policies that our government implements through the candidates that you elect to represent you. Voting is not only a privilege, but also your duty as provided by the Constitution of the United States. However, many eligible voters do not perform or take seriously this essential duty as an American citizen. According to the United States Census Bureau, 61% of the voting age population voted in the 2016 presidential election. As an active voter and a person who has been following politics since I was a teenager, I noticed how important voting is to the operation of the United States government. Voting is the most important opportunity for Americans to use their voice to get the government to work for them. Today we will discuss the consequences of not voting and the importance of making sure that your voice is heard. Let us start off by discussing the consequences of not participating in the duty of voting. By not voting, you relinquish your voice to your representatives in Congress. Not voting may also impact the results of an election. For example, one of the closest elections in American history is the 1880 election between James A. Garfield and Winfield S. Hancock. According to the American Presidency Project, out of nearly 8.9 million votes cast, James Garfield won the election by only 0.1%, or about 8,000 votes. There are smaller issues that are on the ballot as well, that are influenced by the citizenry through the process of voting. Have you ever wondered how you got out of high school without the necessary knowledge for your adult life, such as balancing a checkbook or how credit cards work? The school board is in charge of determining the curriculum taught in our school systems, and you get to decide who sits on the school board and what policies they may choose to implement. Voting is equally as important during midterm elections. The midterm elections may be more important to your everyday life as these elections determine local property tax rates, which affect the rent that you pay, as well as local rules and regulations, such as restrictions during COVID and policies that affect the local economy. However, participation in these elections are far lower than participation in presidential elections. According to Fair Vote, 40% of eligible voters take part in midterm elections. This means that 60% of voters do not make their voices heard on these local issues. The only way to combat this issue is to get educated on the issues facing our local, state, and federal governments and participate by voting to voice your opinion and direct your elected officials. Voting is the main way that you let your voice be heard by Congress. In order to take part in the voting process, you must be registered to vote. There are three main methods of voter registration in the state of Florida. You can register to vote when you obtain your state ID or driver's license. You can also register to vote online. Additionally, you can register to vote in person at your local supervisor of elections office. The process of voting is also simple. Most states offer three methods of voting: early voting, voting on election day, or absentee voting. In Florida, in order to participate in early voting and to vote on election day, you need an official form of photo ID, such as your driver's license or state ID. If early voting or voting on election day doesn't work for you, you can apply for an absentee ballot. With all of the methods available to you to take part in your duty as an American citizen, there is little reason not to make your voice heard. In my experience, the process of going to my local polling location and voting only took about 15 minutes, and many polling locations are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., allowing for a large window of opportunity for you to participate in your duty as a citizen. By voting, especially during midterm elections, you have a say on issues that directly affect your local area. For example, say your local government is proposing a new law that you disagree with. By voting against this law, you can show your local officials that you do not support the proposed legislation, and you may help prevent it from being passed. Let us discuss the influence that participating in your duty as a citizen may have on the country. By participating in your duty as a citizen in voting, you make the government work for you. By voting for candidates that support the issues that you support, as well as voting on state and local legislation, Congress may pass legislation that directly benefits you. However, if you don't vote, you allow Congress to serve the interest of people who may have interests that you disagree with. This may cause Congress to pass legislation that negatively affects you. I urge you to take part in your duty as an American citizen and vote. I also hope you share the importance of participating in the process of voting with your friends and family. Elections can be decided by the choices made by you and a small circle of like-minded individuals. Together we can ensure that Congress does its job and works for the best interest of the American people. In conclusion, I would like to share my great-grandfather's thoughts on voting. If you don't vote, you can't complain. Thank you for listening.